Lexie Hull and Azura Stevens get their roses. Locked on Women's Basketball. In a recent episode of the Locked on Women's Basketball podcast, hosts discussed standout performances in the unrivaled Women's 3x3 Basketball League, highlighting players like Lexie Hull and Azura Stevens. Lexie Hull, playing for Rose BC, delivered a remarkable performance on January 25, 2025, scoring 19 points on 8 of 11 shooting in just 10 minutes, leading her team to a 71-66 victory over Mist BC. Her efforts earned her the Rose of the Game honor from head coach Nola Henry. Azura Stevens has also been making significant contributions in the unrivaled league, showcasing her skills and versatility on the court. The podcast delved into their recent performances, discussing how both players have been instrumental in their team's successes and are receiving well-deserved recognition for their efforts. The Locked on Women's Basketball podcast provides in-depth analysis and coverage of women's basketball, offering listeners insights into player performances, game strategies, and league developments. Locked on Women's Basketball, Hull and Stevens talk unrivaled. Stevens: "It's so cool to get to play with players that have so much experience." On the latest episode of Locked on Women's Basketball, host Gigi Spee is joined by Lexie Hull of the Indiana Fever and Azura Stevens of the LA Sparks, who play together in the unrivaled league with Rose BC. They discuss everything under the sun, with Spee training, competing, their favorite places to eat, and more. Order becoming Caitlin Clark and save 30%. Howard Megdal, founder and editor of The Next and the Nine, just announced his latest book. It captures both the historic nature of Caitlin Clark's rise and the critical context over the previous century that helped make it possible. Interviews with Clark, Lisa Bluder, C. Vivian Stringer, Jan Jensen, Molly Kazma, and so many others were vital to the process. If you enjoy his coverage of women's basketball every Wednesday at The Nine, you will love Becoming Caitlin Clark, the unknown origin story of a modern basketball superstar. Click the link below to pre-order and enter Megdal30 at checkout. Spee opens the show by discussing Hull's background and how she got to where she is. "I didn't really think I was gonna play professionally when I went to college," Hull says. "It was never a dream of mine, but coming up to my senior year, I didn't want to be done." Spee fasts forward and asks Hull what it's like being not only in the WNBA, but also with Unrivaled, and teammates with Chelsea Gray. "It's great to be on the receiving end of them," Hull says. "And it's like, so cool to get to play with players that have that much experience." The Next, a 24/7 365 women's basketball newsroom. The Next, a basketball newsroom brought to you by The Nine. 24/7 365 women's basketball coverage, written, edited and photographed by our young, diverse staff and dedicated to breaking news, analysis, historical deep dives and projections about the game we love. Later on, Spee talks with Stevens about her own background, including transferring from Duke to UConn. "Going into it, I didn't think I was going to transfer," Stevens says. She acknowledges that part of her draw to Duke was that it was close to home. "But I felt like, after a couple of years, it was time for me to make a change." Spee closes out her conversation with Stevens by discussing the upcoming Unrivaled 1v1 tournament. "It's going to be fun," Stevens said. "It's going to be competitive. Add Locked on Women's Basketball to your daily routine." Here at The Next, in addition to the 24/7 365 written content our staff provides, we also host the daily Locked on Women's Basketball podcast. Join us Monday through Saturday each week as we discuss all things WNBA, collegiate basketball, basketball history, and much more. Listen wherever you find podcasts or watch on YouTube.